Oh, there's somebody else in the waiting room. Who's that? Oh, it's Andy. I thought Andy had already come in. He must have dropped out.
I missed him.
He came and went.
Oh, right, that explains it.
Same with Don.
Oh,
I can't see now.
No, he's here, but his camera's off.
All right, okay. Are we now ready, Keith?
No, it's still waiting for YouTube. Right, we are almost there. I can see the pictures. I can't get any sound on YouTube at the moment. Right, we are there. So whenever you're ready, Roger.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Keith. Welcome everybody to this annual meeting of the Parish Council. This is my last activity or contribution as chairman. I've been chair for 4 years, which I've enjoyed, and I think I have had the support of the council over that time, and I'm very grateful for that. So my job is very simple, really. I will first take apologies for absence so we can establish who's actually at this meeting. Can I turn to you, Sarah? Apologies?
Yes, we have no apologies. Everyone is here.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. And then can I move, therefore, to the election of a chair for the council for this meeting, certainly, but actually for the council beyond that. Do I have any nominations? Claire?
I'd like to nominate Keith.
Keith Budden, okay. Do I have somebody to second that? Yes, I'll take Leanne. Right. Anybody else? Anybody wishes to nominate? I can't see anybody else.
No, no one else has got their hand up.
Indeed. Right. Well, thank you very much indeed. Then, in that case, then, are we obliged to actually have a vote? Therefore, even though there's only one nomination, yes, a nod from the clerk. In that case, then, how would this be recorded? Is it sufficient if there's only one candidate to have a show of hands? Sarah, I can't hear you.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I think it's appropriate to have a show of hands.
Yes, I think that's sufficient because we're not choosing between different candidates. In that case, then, all in favour of electing Keith Budden as chairman?
Jeanette's in favour.
Right, Jeanette.
Thank you. And so therefore Keith needs to sign the declaration which he has in front of him, hopefully.
I do indeed. No. Here's one I did earlier. Okay, I've signed that, so the clerk can countersign that whenever. Well,
in that case, then allow me to hand over to Keith to chair the rest of the meeting. Good luck, Keith.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you everyone for your support for me being chair. It's my second run at this, so as somebody said, do we want new tyres or do we want a retread? Well, there you go. A retread is what we have, but I hope to do a good job. And thank you for all your support. And I, of course, would like to say a very big thank you to Roger for all that he's done in the last 4 years. I think you've done a superb job, Roger, in chairing the council, and especially chairing it as well through this difficult time when we've all had to get used to doing things online and everything that's gone along with that. And of course, also recognising the decisions that you've had to make under delegated powers during the period at which we weren't meeting. So big thank you, Roger. I think we owe you a big gratitude for that, and hopefully it won't be too long before we can meet in person and actually celebrate that properly.
Can we make that a formal motion?
Sorry, Howard?
I'd like to make your comments a formal motion of thanks to Roger.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Do we have someone to second that?
I'll second that.
Leanne to second that. So everyone in favour?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unanimous.
No, it's not. I abstained.
So we move on then. I'm going to move on because I'm conscious that we've got something like 23 things on the agenda and 2 hours to do it in. So I almost feel like I've got the countdown clock behind me. But anyway, to move on to the election of the vice chairman then. Do we have a nomination for vice chairman, please? Or vice chair, I should say, please. Chair?
Could I nominate Nick as I'm nominating this evening?
Okay, yeah. Do we have a seconder for Nick? Oh, got several seconders for Nick. You're popular choice, obviously. I'll take Howard since I saw Howard's hand first. Right, in which case, do we have any other nominations for vice chair? I'm not seeing any. Okay, so again, then can we have a show of hands for a vote for Nick becoming our vice chairman?
Jeanette is in support.
Right, that's unanimous then, I think. Nick, well done. Welcome to the role as vice chairman.
Yeah, I find it quite curious. Could have said, "Oh, no, I don't think so," and run out the door. But I'd be delighted to be your vice chairman or chair person.
Chair.
Chair, it should be, shouldn't it? It should be chair. Okay, so we've had the apologies already. So when we move on to declarations of interest, which, as you know, is we have a long-winded way of doing this. But we will go around in the order that I can see people on the screen. And we'll begin with myself. And of course, because remote meetings finish as of Friday, then this is the last meeting of the council at which we'll be doing it this way, at least for the foreseeable future. So I'm Keith Budden. I am chairman of this Parish Council. And I am present. I've read the agenda and I have no declarations of interest to make in any of the items on tonight's agenda. Claire?
I'm Claire Williams. I'm a councillor of the List Parish Council. I've read the agenda and all of the associated papers and have no interest to declare in any of the items being discussed this evening.
Thank you. Nick? You're on mute, Nick.
I'm Nick Wilson, member of List Parish Council. I've read the agenda and all the relevant documents and have no interest to declare.
Thank you. Leanne?
I'm Leanne McDonald. I've read the agenda for the paperwork submitted and to my I have no interest to declare in any of the items.
Thank you. Roger?
I am Roger Hargreaves. I'm a member of this Parish Council. I have read the agenda and the associated papers and I have no interest to declare and whatever came next.
Thank you. Jeanette?
I'm Jeanette Lowe, Parish Councillor of List Parish Council. I confirm I've read the agenda and have no interest to declare in any of the items being considered this evening.
Thank you. Sheila? You're on mute, Sheila.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, right. Sheila Baldwin, a member of List Parish Council. I confirm that I've read the agenda and all the associated documents and I have nothing of interest to declare in any item.
Thank you, Sheila. Howard?
I'm Howard Lindsley. I'm a member of List Parish Council. I've read the agenda and the attached items and I have no interest to declare.
Thank you. Rob?
I'm Rob Finn, a member of List Parish Council. I've read the agenda and have nothing to declare or no interest in things being discussed this evening.
Jenny?
Hello, I'm Jenny. I'm a member of List Parish Council. I have read the agenda and all associated documents and I have no interest to declare.
Thank you. Andy?
Hi, I'm Councillor Andy Smith. I've read the Council on List Parish Council. I've read the agenda and I can confirm I have no interest to declare.
Thank you. Don?
Just before I declare, can you hear me better? Nick was worried he couldn't hear me well, I think. Was it Sue?
Yeah, that is better, Don.
Yeah, that's right. Sue Halstead couldn't hear Nick and me on the planning meeting. I'm using a different computer. I'm just testing it. Thank you. I am Don Gerard. I'm a member of List Parish Council, and I've read the agenda and have no interest to declare.
Thank you, Don. Oh, whilst I remember, actually, Don, please can you hang on at the end of the meeting, because there's something I need to ask you about Mackenzie Friends, but that's outside of this meeting, but I need to pick your brains. Okay, so we move on to Chairman's announcements. And once I can find it, I have an email with what the Chairman's announcements are, because obviously we didn't know for certain who was going to be Chairman. Okay, so here we go with the Chairman's announcements then. So first is sadly that Liz Ford is leaving us on the 28th of May. She is moving on to become clerk at Selborne, and I'm sure we all wish her well in her new career. The new RFO, Sandra Humphrey, joins us on the 1st of June, but she will have a few hours of handover before a formal start date to allow for a few hours with Liz in Liz's final week. Please note that both Sarah and Lizzie are on leave the week commencing the 31st of May. That's the week that would be into the bank holiday, which is Sandra's first week, but I know Sarah's been busy preparing induction material for Sandra for the first few days, and she will have a laptop for working from home. Measures will be in place for contacting officers if needed during that week, and that'll be communicated to you by email in due course. In order to support the induction of the new RFO, Sarah and Lizzie will commence a phased return to the office the week commencing the 7th of June. The office will then reopen to the public on the 21st of June, in line with government guidelines, returning to the previous opening hours of 10 AM to 2 PM on Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Officers intend to continue to work flexibly between the office and home, and so should a councillor wish to meet with an officer outside of office opening hours, they should be arranged in advance. Because of the new rules, which have been enforced by the government, and unfortunately a court case which was brought against them was lost, there will be no formal meetings of the council or committees in the period 7th of May, which is this Friday, to the 21st of June, which is when, as far as we know, according to the timetable, that all restrictions will be lifted in line with health guidance. It's envisaged that meetings after the 21st of June will take place in the Village Hall to allow for COVID secure meetings to take place. Lastly, is that List Parish Council have received a large sum of seal money, largely from the Anders Wood development, of just under £156,000. And so a meeting of the project review group will be set up after the 21st of June to consider priorities and consultation for allocating this sum. And that concludes my chairman's announcements. So we have a visitor this evening, unless she's disappeared.
Chair,
Yeah.
Chair, could I just ask if you could mute us all during Nicola's presentation? There was a tremendous amount of rustling during the declarations of interest.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I can do that.
We do appear to have lost Nicola temporarily, so we might want to.
It's okay. She's in the waiting room, so I will bring her back in. I don't know why she went back out to the waiting room, but she's back. Or at least her iPad is back. Nicola, are you there? Okay, given that Nicola's not there right at this moment, can I suggest that we bring item 7 forward and have the update from our county councillor, Russell Oppenheimer, which I know will be very brief, because please remember, actually, during this update, both Russell and fellow councillors, please, that we are still in purdah because the election is tomorrow. So please don't ask Russell anything which could have a political connotation, either positive or negative. Russell, anything you wish to advise us of? You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to just say a few words, but as you say, I don't intend to speak for a great length of time, not least because of the election purdah. But I just want to add my thanks and acknowledgement to former Chairman Roger Hargreaves, who's been Chairman for the whole 4 years that I've been the county councillor. And, you know, Liss is very fortunate to have such a strong parish council that does such excellent work. And Roger's been a very dynamic and energetic chairman. And so, yeah, my thanks to him. And I think I'll just say a few things about climate change. You know, really, this is the year when I feel as politicians, we all have to get serious about climate change. And I see this election as a climate election. So regardless of the outcome, I hope whoever the successful candidate will make tackling climate change and nature recovery the key themes of the next 4 years. And we've all got to come together to work on that. I'm really pleased to be working with Jenny Bennett from Liss Parish Council on these issues. We've had one really good meeting already, and we'll set up another one quite soon. And we want it to be as inclusive as possible. You know, this is an issue where the whole community can come together. And I'm so pleased that the Mill Lane Community Garden Project is really off getting moving now. The money's there, because this is part of it. It's part of nature recovery. Is using the land we've got, improving it, planting more trees, more wildflowers, and yeah. So I think that's all I should say at this moment. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Russell. Does anyone have any questions for Russell? As I say, but Leanne.
Oh, it's not a question, Russell. You'll be pleased to hear. I just wanted to say thank you for the grant that you agreed to from your county councillor grant for the crossover. I got the official notification from Lucy Whittle a couple of days ago, so that's all going through for their new laptop.
Great, I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. Nicola is now back with us. So Nicola, can I pass over to you and invite you to speak about the Liss Area Historical Society, please?
Yes, sorry, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I lost my internet, and then when it came back on, I realised my iPad had halved in power. So I had to run downstairs and get the plug, and then go and get 2 extension leads to reach the plug, and then lost the iPad plug on the way. So I had to go back and get that. Anyway, sorry, yes. Thank you very much for having me. I must also apologise. My children are on the prowl and may appear, hopefully not. So yes, my name is Nicola, and I'm the new chair of Liss Area Historical Society. We have lots of support from Liss Parish Council, and due to the recent updates, we thought to the committee, we thought it would be nice just to touch base, say hello, and explain a few things about what's going on. So as I said, I'm the new chair. I'm an archivist by training, and I work for West Sussex Record Office. So I've got a bit of background with historical records, but I'm new to the society as well as the chair. Our outgoing chair, Ron McCann, is now our archivist, and he's replaced Mike Jordan, who's retired from the role. So what I want to do this evening, I'm just going to give you a bit of background about the society for those of you who don't know about us, our purpose and aims, our activities and current projects, and then what the future might look like and the challenges that we currently face. So just for a bit of background, the Historical Society was founded in November 1985 by a group of local enthusiasts, and there was already a list collection of archives, and so LARDS, as we call it, became the custodian of those archives. This list collection moved to the Triangle after it was established in 1997, and we've maintained a really strong association with the Triangle ever since, and that's where the collection is still housed. We currently have 9 committee members. Our constitution allows for 10, and we are looking for a 10th member. We could really do someone to help with publicity and promotion. That's kind of where we really could do with a bit of a hand really at the moment. So the purpose or aim of the society, our constitution states that our aim is the advancement of public education. And we achieve this by promoting and recording the history of the area, fostering an interest in research, publicising our findings, sorry, my son's about to join us, and maintaining, preserving and making the list collection available to the society and the public. And our current mantra is to explore and explain the history of lists. Please, children, please. Sorry. We include the surrounding villages within our remit. So where no other history groups already established, we can collect items relating to villages such as Gretham or Hawkley, for example. In terms of activities, we conduct social and educational activities for our membership and the wider public. Our monthly meetings are our main activity. Excuse me, I'm just going to shut the door. Can you go out, please? Please, why do you have to clean out? I do apologise. Yeah, so our monthly meetings are our main activity. We have 8 of these a year, one of which includes the AGM. And these feature a talk. These are usually historical in nature, but rarely about lists, because obviously it's quite hard to find 8 talks a year about lists for the last 30 odd years. At the moment, these are via Zoom. They have been since November 2020, but we do hope to return to the Triangle in September on a summer break at the moment. We usually have a summer outing. It's a bit up in the air this year. Obviously, last year's was cancelled. We often have a residential trip as well, which I understand are good fun, going away to a hotel for a couple of days. And we have a Christmas social as well every year, obviously apart from last year. We host occasional exhibitions. These are usually at the Triangle Centre again. They relate to the history of the village or to a specific event or a commemoration, for example, World War I. And we aim to publish our journal, List Histories, annually. Usually they're a collection of research articles about the village in the area, but our last edition, some of you may have seen, was a tribute to Ray Swift, a lifelong villager. And we also provide support for other organisations and collaborate with them. So just some recent examples: we collaborated with the List Station Adoption Group and the East Hampshire Community Rail Partnership to improve List Station. And our contribution was to produce a series of award-winning vinyl panels. These feature old photographs of lists, and you can see them in the station at the moment. Ron McCann has produced some very concise historical vignettes of lists for Petersfield Museum for their new for their refurbishment. And just this month, we have provided some more old photographs of lists and some contextual information for the Crossover Youth Centre, because they want to take part in the Local and Community History Month. And so moving on to projects, our major project is to work on the archive, the list collection. So it's quite an extensive collection, currently housed in 2 rooms and a large cupboard at the Triangle. And the collection comprises archives, so primary and secondary sources. We've got lots of original records as well, an extensive library and quite a number of objects. So the archives, they're really quite varied. They include material relating to the WI, for example, Brownie groups. And we've got a fine collection of material relating to Sidney Sedgwick, who was Vicar of Liss in the 1920s. And we've got material about many other village groups, businesses and individuals. And the library, as I said, it's quite extensive. There's lots of publications in there. Some of them are local interest, some of them are specific to lists, and there's also quite a lot of books of general national interest or general historical interest. So, for example, books about World War I or Queen Victoria, that sort of thing. And the objects are many and varied. They include signs and signposts for the railway station, Longmoor Railway and various businesses. There's a large and really lovely triptych from St Saviour's, the old tin church in Liss Forest, which is really rather beautiful. lots of bottles, an array of typewriters, including a Victorian one. As you can probably guess, some of these objects are extremely large and extremely heavy, and not all of them are actually on site. Some of them are housed elsewhere at the moment. And we've got a number of objects which require some specialist input, really. We have a really lovely embroidered tablecloth from the WI, which dates from the 1920s. And it's in lovely condition, but we need to make sure it stays in that condition. I can deal with paper and photographs and stuff, but textiles are not really my background. And so this collection, it's been well cared for over the years, and it's arranged really well, actually. Everything's findable, but it does need cataloguing properly so that we can utilise it more, because this should be our biggest asset. And we really need to be making it more accessible to the membership and the wider public. We do get inquiries from the public through our website, and we really need to be able to answer those quite quickly and to the best of our ability. And we can't quite do that at the moment. The long-term plan is to engage the membership with this cataloguing work, obviously COVID permitting, but we also need to do an awful lot of prep work beforehand and planning to make sure that when we start this project, we can really get going with it and we aren't spending our time trying to decide what to do with it, that we've already made those decisions. So Ron, our archivist, our former chair, has created a collections policy, which is a key document. This will really help us guide us with this project and with future deposits, make sure that they're relevant to the collection. We don't get anything that should be perhaps elsewhere or doesn't really belong with us. And we plan to develop a disaster recovery plan in the coming months, which will help us should the worst happen and the triangle, you know, well, we don't want to think about it, but should there be a flood or a fire, to ensure that we could salvage as much as possible and make it safe. And this project includes quite a number of challenges. Lots of them are physical, actually. I don't know how familiar you are with the upstairs at the Triangle, but the storage areas, they are secure and they are broadly stable in terms of their temperature and humidity and light, which as an archivist is what you're always looking for, stability and conditions. But they are very cramped and the space is very limited. Accesses up a very narrow, steep staircase, and there are narrow corridors as well to access the rooms. So it's not particularly easy to get up there and work. And then once you do get up there, the rooms can just about accommodate 2 people, but it is very tight in there and when we have limited space to work. So once we get this bigger cataloguing project going, we will need to hire an additional room at the Triangle in order to facilitate that. At this point and going forward, we can't accommodate or supervise researchers. So even if we get this cataloguing done, we wouldn't be able to accommodate anyone to come in and look at the archives on site other than members of the committee, really. And some items will need rehousing. They'll need archive-friendly storage boxes at some point if they're going to survive. And photographs, anything that's in a plastic wallet, you may have seen. Once you take a plastic wallet out, especially if it's got typed script paper, lots of the type will stick to the plastic as you lift it off. And we don't want photographs and anything like that. So this will incur additional costs long term. It's getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but we will need to address that at some point. So just looking to the future, particularly to the challenges that we're going to face. So our membership at the moment is relatively stable. We have around 70 members, but this does include 5 life or honorary members. We have lost a few due to COVID and the meeting restrictions, which meant that people couldn't join us for meetings, so didn't feel they wanted to continue their membership. But equally, we have gained quite a few numbers through COVID because we have been quite active with Zoom from the tail end of 2020. We're always happy to welcome new or returning members if anybody's interested. And this membership will really help to ensure that LARS continues for the next 30 odd years. And publicity, I mean, this is going to be key to obtaining new members and attracting new members. And I mentioned briefly, we are looking for a new committee member to help us with publicity. I must say, I only took over sort of at the tail end of 2020, but we really do have an excellent and a very dedicated committee. They give a great deal to the society. As you know, as parish councillors, we all have busy lives away from these committees. And it would really help to someone to promote the society, because we're all doing enough really at the moment, but we really need to raise awareness, increase membership, promote our activities and get going on social media. As Jenny Bennett knows, I've had 2 fails there already and I'm not brave enough to risk a third and shut myself out of Facebook. And then finances. Our finances are our major challenge really. Our fixed costs are quite significant. Our archive storage at the moment is over £150 a month. So we're spending a whopping £1,848 per annum to store the collection. And this is really where our money goes. And we have speaker fees. I mean, part of the reason people join is to enjoy the talks. And if we want to attract engaging speakers, that can be anything from £60 to £80 for a fee plus expenses. Occasionally we do have free speakers, which is brilliant, people that give their time for free and their knowledge, but you know, for the most part we do pay. And this year we've also been paying the Zoom license. We paid that only for 4 months of the year, which is more expensive than hiring the Triangle, but the flip side is we don't get any speaker expenses, so that actually does save us money in long term. Our membership fees, they are only £12 per annum, which seems to be broadly in line with lots of other local history associations, or it's £23 for 2 members at the same address. So we're earning around £750 per annum on our membership fees, which obviously is not even half of the archive storage cost, not even half of that one fixed cost, which is one of several fixed costs. So we recognise that we may need to increase our membership fees, but we do have to be realistic about the impact of this on members and the income raised. I mean, if you raise it by £1, what's £70 is a drop in the ocean. You know, we'd need to triple it to cover our fixed costs, which obviously is not realistic to retain our membership. So you have to look at the pros and cons of raising the membership and what it's going to achieve if we do so. I mentioned right at the beginning that we do get an annual grant from this parish council, and we're extremely grateful for that grant. It really does help. Last year we received £350 from you, so thank you very much. And usually we'd host fundraisers, usually have a raffle at our monthly meeting, cake sales, that sort of thing, but obviously we haven't been able to do that for over a year now, so we have really missed that additional income from there. So really our options are to greatly increase our income or greatly reduce our outgoings, but it's a bit difficult to achieve either at the moment. Storage options within lists are pretty limited. There isn't really anywhere else that can offer us anything like the storage that the Triangle can offer us at the moment. So it's a bit of a catch-22 at the moment, really. So just to summarise, I appreciate you're really busy and have a packed agenda. I don't want to end on a negative note, but it's important to acknowledge that we do face challenges. They aren't insurmountable. There are ways around them, but we can't ignore them either. But we do have an awful lot going for us, which I hope has come across. We have an active and engaged membership, an active and engaging programme of activities. And I must say, I've been really impressed with the speakers we've had since I've joined. We've had a really diverse range of subjects as well. I think my favourite's been scurvy, which was really an eye-opening talk. And we've embraced the challenges of COVID by Zooming for our members. So we've continued to offer something for our members, which has kept the membership stable. So we've been prepared to move with the times and embrace new technologies, and we've had members from Devon and Canada joining in with those meetings, which obviously they can't do in normal times. And as I said, we do have a really dedicated committee, and they give a lot of time to run the society for our members. But yes, we really could do with that 10th person. That would really help us. And the biggest asset that we have, the best thing really, is our historical collection. It is extensive, it is strong, and it does reflect the history of the village and the people who have lived and live here. And it's been really well cared for. It's been really well looked after over the years. And as I say, this is our greatest asset, and one which we really want to share, which is really what the next couple of years are going to be all about, really making that asset available and sharing it and really using it as it could and should be used and enjoyed by everyone. So that's a very quick presentation. I apologise, no PowerPoint. The tech just wasn't going to work for me this evening, but any questions, please do ask, and hopefully my children won't come back in now. Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks, Nicola. That was really good, really interesting. Thank you for that. I'd just like to say, in terms of your finances, and one of the things which might be open to you is that both myself and Russell are district councillors, and we do have grants which we can make from the district council, but they do have to be very much project based. So we wouldn't contribute just to general running costs. But if you've got a project like cataloguing all the items, then that's certainly something that I'd be happy to have a look at, and I'm sure Russell would be happy to consider too. It's not, it's not necessarily saying we give you a grant at the moment, but please feel free to apply, because we do have that open to us.
That's great. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Nicola? Howard?
Well, there's a statement and a question. I think we ought to thank Mike Jordan, who in my time in the village has been the face of the Historical Society. And I understand he's had to retire because it's too much for him. I think the parish council ought to thank him for that. And the question is, when do the Historical Society meet?
Oh, yes, that's a good question. Thank you. The third Wednesday of the month. But we don't meet from May through to August, so we run from September through to April.
Okay, thank you.
Third Wednesday of the month. And yes, I'd like to echo what you said about Mike Jordan. I've only met him very briefly, but he's done so much for the society. And like you say, he has been the face of the society for years, former chair and also the archivist. And he's responsible for lots of the collection that we have. He has done fantastic work for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd 100% echo that, Howard. Mike has done a fantastic job and always been a very good advocate for the Historical Society. Andy.
Thanks. That was really fascinating to hear all of the kind of the breadth of the work. I was just interested in kind of the collaboration with Petersfield Museum, and given the kind of significant renovation they've just gone under, is there more space for them helping to support your work, as a kind of hub for Petersfield and surrounding villages? Is that a conversation you've had? It's just, but what you do is brilliant, and I personally love the really old pictures that you've got up in the triangle as well. They're fantastic.
Yeah, Ron's Ron. Well, it will have been Mike as well prior to Ron, but yeah, they've been around for a few years. Lived in Liss all their life. I'm still quite a newbie. When did I move? In 2008. So yeah, they're pretty on up to speed with all the old photos. Ron has a very good relationship with Petersfield Museum. Obviously with COVID, and with them being closed, I haven't been able to get in and meet them yet. We have had some discussion with them. I think with the objects as well, we really need their input because they'll be more used to dealing with the bottle, the typewriters, and the costumes. We do have some costumes as well, some World War I outfits. So once they're back up and running, we do intend to get their input on those, because it may be that they take a long-term loan of some of those items because they can house and display them. We just can't display them. So it gets to the point where you think, well, we have this, we want to share it, but we just physically cannot do it, and we aren't a museum. But yeah, I think you're right, it's going to be key to getting that collaboration with places like Petersfield Museum. As I say, we do have a working relationship with them, but I think you're right, we do need to build on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Nick.
Just firstly to say thank you, Nicola, for a really interesting and stimulating presentation. Certainly learned a lot as a former member and now recent rejoiner. On the recruitment for trustee, just to say we've been really pleased by the extent of interest in the parish council through advertising vacancies in the various social media forums, so hopefully you'll be successful. My comment would just be to say I was really interested in your collaboration with Crossover. Obviously I haven't got time tonight to go into the detail of that, but anything that promotes intergenerational understanding and harmony is something that the parish council is keen to support.
Yes, they came to us actually, and I must say that is a initiative that I wasn't aware of. So it's lucky that they did come to us, really. But it would be, it is really interesting to engage with younger people, especially newcomers to the village as well. With all the new housing that is going up, we are hoping to do a leaflet drop around there to make them aware of the society as well, and to try and stimulate some interest. But yeah, it's great to be working with an organisation like Crossover. Who do have a different take on things as well, and can generate interest from different channels where perhaps we aren't necessarily on that radar. And yes, the social media has been an epic fail for me so far. And as I say, I'm just not quite brave enough to take that third time lucky step.
Jenny.
Yeah, I need to speak to someone who can explain what Facebook is recognising.
It's more of a
Yeah.
statement that once we're allowed to, we'll sit together. We'll sit together with an iPad or something and a cup of
That's
tea
what
and
I
just figure it
need.
out. So, but it's very hard to do. But yeah, I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you,
But we
Jenny.
kind of
You've
need to be
already-
sat next to each other with iPads or something.
Yeah, you've already given so much of your time. Thank you. I really
No problem at all.
appreciate it. But I need my handheld.
We'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Anyone else? No, not seeing anyone else. Okay, thanks, Nicola. Thanks very much for your.
I will disappear now and just say thank you very much for having me and go and get my children to bed. But thank you very much for having me. And
Okay,
enjoy
no problem. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So we now move on to item 8, which is the update from the district councillors. I'll go first, and then if Russell's got anything he wants to add, he can obviously add it. But really, there's not a great deal to add from the district council, other than the fact that we had our annual council meeting last week, at which I ceased to be the chairman of East Hampshire District Council after 2 years. So the chairman of East Hampshire District Council is now Councillor Asmund Carew, and the vice chancellor is the vice chairman, I should say, is Councillor Sally Pond. And so I obviously wish both of them every success, and I hope they have as much fun in the role as I've had for the last 2 years. Russell, anything you want to add?
I'll just mention that the electoral services team have obviously been very busy over the last couple of weeks counting postal votes. We've had a higher proportion of postal votes than at any previous election for obvious reasons. I actually went in to observe the postal vote counting, and it was quite an interesting process. And they'll obviously be very busy tomorrow manning the polling stations. And then they've got a real job on their hands to organise a count whilst keeping all the counters socially distanced. So that's going to be interesting. I'm sure Howard will be there as well. And we'll all have our masks on and make sure. But what I really want to say is I think the team there that's run by someone called Leanne Richards, who some of you will know, have done an amazing job. I mean, I'm in awe of them. It's a real challenge to organise an election during a pandemic, and they're doing it. And I've got every confidence that they'll do a good job with the count. So I think we all deserve to acknowledge. They deserve our acknowledgement and our gratitude. And that's all I'll add. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I agree, Russell. Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job in incredibly difficult circumstances. Does anyone have any questions for either myself or Russell, the district council? No, not seeing anybody. Great. Okay, so we move on then to item 9, which is the appointments to committees. I'm intending to take this en masse rather than committee by committee. The sheet's been circulated to everybody with which committees everybody has kindly volunteered to be on, or maybe I should say kindly volunteered or been press ganged to be on, but either way, we have the committees there. So taking them en masse, can I have someone to propose them, please? Claire. And someone to second? Leanne.
Keith, I just wanted to say something first.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm quite happy to stand down as chair of the review committee, which I've been chair of now for 3.5 years. If there's any other councillor who would like the opportunity to chair a committee, I'm happy to stay, but if someone would really like the opportunity to chair a committee, I'm quite happy to let that happen.
Okay, Leanne, thank you for that. I mean, obviously the chairs of each committee will be appointed at the first meeting of each committee, but yeah, it's good to know that
we need people to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Leanne. Claire.
I was wondering if we need to have a look at the standing orders about your chairship of the planning committee? Are you allowed to chair the planning committee and chair the council at the same time?
We probably do need to look at standing orders on that. Yeah, I think you're right, Chair. Can I suggest that something myself and the clerk take offline, and then we'll circulate around to everybody. Don.
Yeah, I'd just like to, I hadn't thought of it until Claire raised it, but I think it actually is probably pretty bad practice to have the chairman of planning the same as the chairman of the council. So I think we should look at that. Hadn't thought of it at all until that was raised then.
Yeah, no problem at all. I mean, if I'm not, yeah, I'm there. I'll start again. If it's not possible for me to be still be chair of planning, I will of course stand down from that, and someone else can be elected chair.
Yeah.
He says, looking at Roger intently, even though Roger can't tell because we're all on one screen. Right. So, subject to all of that, can Claire's proposed the appointments to committees? Can I have someone to second? Leanne?
Very quickly, Keith, we need to remove the list flood action group because it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I'm not on those yet.
Oh, sorry.
I'm doing the committees first. So Leanne seconded, Claire's proposed it. Can I have a show of hands, please, for the appointments to committees? Yeah, that's everyone. Brilliant. Thank you. So we then move on from there to the appointment to representatives to outside bodies and champions. As Sarah correctly pointed out, we need to remove the flood action group because that has now ceased to be. But subject to that, can I have someone to propose all the appointments that we have there, please? Howard? And seconded? Rob. And again, can I show of hands that everyone's happy with all those appointments, please? Yeah, that's unanimous. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. So we now move on to the approval of the minutes of the council meeting of the 15th of March. So can I have someone to propose the minutes, please?
Chair.
Yeah, Nick.
I'm sorry to do this, having not spotted it previously, but I think in 3521 on page 2, you made a statement at the bottom of that item about the funding decisions on the Supporting Communities Fund, where you said decisions will be made in April, which I think is what you did say. But subsequently, when I was circulating details to the 40 local groups that we communicate with, I noted that actually applications are open till the end of May. So I'm suggesting not a change to the minutes, but that we note that in these minutes for the record.
Yes, sorry, that was my mistake. You're quite right. So yeah, happy to note that. Sarah.
Yes, apologies to Councillor Bennett. I omitted to put her name in the list of those that attended. So. All right. Okay. He's adding.
So subject to those two things, then can I have someone to accept the minute, Howard? Oh, sorry, Howard. Wait a moment.
Nick had just changed.
Yeah. Was it's basically just adding something to. I've lost it again. 3521, the last line.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
I've lost where we were now. Someone to propose the minutes, please. Roger, someone to second? Leanne. Super. Can I show of hands, please? Everyone happy that I signed the minutes? Great. Thank you. So do we have any matters arising from the minutes? No? Okay, that's good. So we move on to item 13 then, which is the RFO's report on payments and receipts, which you have in front of you since the last meeting. Does anyone have any questions that they wish to raise? No, not seeing any hands. Okay. So can I have someone to propose that we accept the RFO's report then, please? Rob, someone to second? Fair. All those in favour? Great, that's unanimous. Thank you. Right, so we now move on to receive reports of committees, and we begin with the reports of the Planning Committee of the 10th of March, the 31st of March and the 28th of April. All of the minutes have been circulated to you. I'm not, since there's 3 sets, I'm not proposing to go through them. Does anyone have any questions on any of those minutes? Leanne?
Don't seem to have got the ones for April.
Oh no, that's because it was held too late, actually. So you're quite right. Yeah, those haven't yet been circulated. So in fact, we are approving then the minutes or noting the minutes of the 10th of March and the 31st of March. Apologise for that. Any questions? No. Which case, have someone to? Do we have? No, we don't need you on this, do we? We're just leaving them. Okay. So long since I've done this bit, I can't remember. Right. We let's move on to the next bit, which is to receive the report of the Facilities Committee of the 22nd of March 2021. I'll hand over to Nick.
Chair, I don't want to add anything to what's in the minutes or anything else, since we've got so many facilities items already on the agenda.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about the minutes? No. Okay, so those are noted. And then we move on to receive the report of the Finance Committee of the 26th of April, which I don't think has been circulated yet, has it? Or have I missed it?
No, the meeting was held last Monday and the minutes are not yet available.
Okay.
But almost all of the next item is what was
I was going to say the next item covers a lot of the things. So on that then, item 15 on the agenda, which is the motions proposed by the Chair of Finance. I'll hand over to Claire. Would you like to lead us through them, Claire?
Thank you very much. Chair, would you like me to propose item 15 in its entirety, or do you want me to split it up into 6 bits?
I think we better do it in 6 bits, given that some of them require me to sign documents. So
okay, 6 bits is. So the first motion is that the List Parish Council approves the accounts for the 2021 financial year and signs the bank reconciliation, which is 15A in your pile of papers. And what that says is that the balance on box 8 of the AGAR agrees to the balance in the bank statements which have been provided. Does anyone have any questions? I can bore you with finance.
Anyone any questions for Claire? No. Okay, in which case can I have someone to, well, Claire has proposed that. Can I have someone to second it, please? Andy? Show of hands, all those in favour? Do we accept the accounts? It's everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. The second item is that the List Parish Council approves the annual governance statement for the 2021 year for signing by the chair, and that is 15B in the pile of paper. And what it says is that we have done all of the right things at right times. If anyone has any questions.
Anyone any questions for Claire on 15B? No. Can I have a seconder then, please? Rob. And show of hands that everyone's happy for me to sign that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Right. Item C, that the List Parish Council approves the accounting statements for the 2021 financial year for signing by the chair, which is 15C in your pile of papers. And it's a statement of what the finances have looked like in the last year.
Okay, so again, any questions for Claire on that one? No, not seeing any hands. Someone to second it? Jenny? And show of hands in favour that I can sign this one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Don't put 15C too far away. So 15D is that the List Parish Council notes the updated asset list, which is item 15D, and it refers to item 15C, box 9 on the accounting statement. So it's all tallies up, all agrees, and it's a list of the things that we own at the prices that we own them at.
Okay, Roger, you're on mute at the moment, Roger.
Right. I'd just like to say on the asset list, I have no problem with what's actually presented. But as I've raised with Sarah the clerk, in my view, what ought to be added to it is our land holdings. It doesn't actually list all the bits of land that we own. And so while I'd be quite happy to accept the document that's here, I'd like a commitment that in due course we would add in all our land holdings. And looking to the future, because I realise this can be a time-consuming exercise, in due course we ought to seek that all the land is registered with the land registry. That's a long-term project, but I think it's something that we ought to have as an objective for the parish council.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'll add that it might be worth considering getting the village hall and the pavilion revalued. The village hall particularly is being held at £1, and I'm sure it's worth more than that.
Yeah.
That's a good example, because the land itself is worth a great deal more.
Yeah.
And is a separate asset from the village hall itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Okay, so Howard.
Yeah, this registering the land, it's a very technical issue, but the parish council doesn't actually own the land. It's owned by a trust, of which we, as parish councillors, are trustees. So
sorry, which land are you referring to, Howard?
Well, Westlis Rec and I believe the Forest Rec, and I believe the land that the village hall is on as well.
Can I defer to the clerk a moment, Howard? Sarah?
Yes, just to say that all land is in terms of the recreation grounds and allotments, that is all registered apart from Newman Collard, but that is in hand. It's taking a long time, but everything else is registered, and that the last one to be done is Newman Collard, and that is in hand. And I think that probably applies to the ground, the land that the buildings are on, but that'd be the village hall, but I need to check that last one.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure that answers my point.
I think it does.
Everything is registered, Howard.
Sorry?
Everything is registered.
Yeah.
The only one I'm not 100% certain on is what the village hall stands on, but I think it probably is. I need to double check. But all the other land is registered at the land registry, apart from Newman Collard, which we are in the process of registering. It's just been time consuming.
And the owners of the land will be registered to the village hall charity and the Westlis charity rather than to the parish council.
Yeah. That's important. I know it's a technicality, but sometimes technicalities are important in law.
Yeah, no, I take your point, Has. Okay, so subject to that, are we happy to accept the fixed asset list? And put your hand. Yeah. Okay. Super. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, did we have a seconder? Sorry.
Oh, I don't think we did actually. We need a seconder. Remember a seconder? Roger. Okay.
Thank you. Item E, to confirm the level of allocated and general reserves as of April 2021. If you refer back to the papers 15C, they are the amounts in box 7, which you will see have pleasingly increased in the year.
Okay.
My internet connection is unstable.
Okay. So again, can I have, so Claire's proposed that. Can someone second? Andy? Everyone happy with that? Can I show hands? Yeah, super. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one last thing. I think they did a quite thorough, lengthy review of the financial regulations, and we've made a couple of housekeeping changes and a few bits and pieces here. The most significant change we made is on page 4.1, which increases the authority for the amount of payments that are allowed to be to £1,000 from £500 in the second 2 bullet points. Other than that, there isn't very much in the way of changes.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions, Leanne? Sorry,
Yeah.
Keith.
Yes,
Yeah. Are we still under the European Union Procurement Directive, even though we've left the European Union?
I believe so, until the final rumblings of the transition period are out of the way. I'm pretty sure we do still have to abide by those rights. Can double check for you.
I think we need to know if we are, and I think we need to be certain if we are, and if there's a transitional period, when that ends.
I will find out and I will let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, so how do you want to handle that, Claire? Do you want to find out and bring this back to the next meeting, or do you want us to approve it as it is now and then change it again if we need to?
Can we approve it as it is now and change it if we need to?
Well, could I suggest that we look at approving it and look at item 11L.
Yeah.
And have it confirmed at a later date.
Yeah.
Whether it needs to be amended.
Okay.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Because I think, Chairman, this is an issue of these. This is still in force until the UK government has put fully into place effectively a replacement for it, and that hasn't quite happened yet.
No, no.
It will be a very simple matter, I think, to change the wording as to which directive or, in our case, which law we're referring to.
Yeah, I think you're right. It will probably just be referring to another. I suspect it will be a statutory instrument, but yeah.
Yeah. But we might need a note there to actually say what the what the situation is, just to be sure.
So we're approving it subject to checking on item 11 now that may need a change.
Yeah.
So Claire's proposed it. Do you have someone to second that? Rob, everyone happy with that? To Show of hands. Yeah, great, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'm done.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Claire. So we'll then move on to item 16, which is a motion from the chair, which is that List Parish Council approves the draft action plan for 2021-22, which you will all have seen, and in fact we discussed last meeting. So again, I'm happy to propose that. Can I have someone to second it, please? Andy? Everyone happy? Show of hands. Yeah, thank you. So we then move on to item 17, which is a motion from the chair on delegated arrangements following the 7th of May when legislation for virtual meetings ends. So item 17, you've got on a piece of paper in front of you. I will read it out for the benefit of any members of the public who are watching on YouTube, because obviously they won't be able to see it. So it says, following the government made the decision not to extend the regulations to allow parish and town councils and parish meetings to continue to meet remotely, and the recommendation from HALC that meetings should be kept to a minimum during the period 7th of May 2021 to 21st of June 2021, the chair, in consultation with the clerk, shall have delegated authority to make decisions on behalf of the council where such decision cannot reasonably be deferred or must be made in order to comply with the commercial or statutory deadline. This will be carried out where possible in consultation with members by electronic means or telephone. The delegation does not extend to matters expressly reserved to the council in legislation or standing orders or financial regulations. Any decisions made under this delegation must be recorded in writing and must be published in accordance with the relevant regulations. This delegated authority ceases upon the first meeting of the council after the council meeting at which the delegation was put in place. And there's a note there, which is not part of the motion, but a note that both HALC, that's the Hampshire Association of Local Councils, and the internal auditor strongly suggest that councils put a scheme with delegation in place prior to the 6th of May if they've not already done so. So that is the motion. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Claire? Does anyone have anything they wish to say before we move to the vote? Howard?
Yes, I want to propose an amendment. We've had one in the past which has worked well, where when there's decisions needed between meetings, it's the chair, the vice chair, and the chair of finance agree on it. And I think that works, and I think that would be a better way of doing it. So I propose that the decision is made by the chair, the vice chair, and the chair of finance.
Okay, I have no issue with that. I'm just looking at the chart to see whether there's any issues.
Not at all. That the wording proposed by HALC was clerk and chair, but it really doesn't matter so long as there is a scheme of delegation in place. Yeah. Quite happy to go with chair, vice chair, and chair finance.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a meeting, and in the past, it's been done by phone call.
Yeah. No, I'm happy with that. Andy.
Sorry to be a pain, but if that's the case, does it have to be unanimous agreement between the chair, vice chair, and chair of finance and the clerk? Is it by majority of those four? I just want to get some of the details.
It's a majority of the three. The clerk is there to advise. The clerk doesn't have a vote. It's democratic from the councillors. I don't ever remember when I've been involved it ever being anything other than 3-0 the decision, but yeah, technically it's a majority of those three.
Yeah.
Could I add a comment endorsing that? In practice, the three end up agreeing. You may modify the situation slightly, but actually that's one of the reasons for actually a consultation with three.
Yeah.
And I've never known a situation where at the end of the day, one hasn't got to a position where all three have agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Certainly, in all my time as chair and vice chair, yeah, I've not known a situation where we've not reached agreement. So, yeah, I think, but it's a valid point to raise. So, subject to that, oh, Leanne.
Can I just ask a question? You've put in here that it'll be carried out where possible in consultation with members. What happens if you cannot contact members? How will we know what has been agreed? Will we be informed weekly?
I think I'd be prepared to say you'll be informed, yeah, as and when there are decisions. I mean, I don't foresee there being that many decisions that
I know
have to be made.
It's only about 4 weeks, three weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
So yeah, I don't foresee there being any vast number of decisions, but yeah, we will. And obviously, I mean, I'd say it's going to be the exception where we can't involve other people, I think, but it needs to be there just in case there's something that comes up that needs a quick decision.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so subject to Howard's amendment, which I'm as proposer of the motion, I'm more than happy to accept. Then can I have a seconder, please? Nick. And so can I have a show of hands of all those in favour, please? Thank you. Thank you. It's really helpful to the smooth running of the council over this difficult period that we get that in place. So we then move on to Nick. Motion from the Chair of Facilities, item 18. Nick, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. This is the first of a series of motions seeking Council's agreement to spending some money. A number of them suggest that the money might come either from reserves or from SIL. My general proposition would be that where we are refurbishing or overhauling existing assets, we should look first to reserves. But where we are doing something new, which is in line with the spirit of the SIL programme, we should be looking to SIL. And I certainly am not attempting to preempt decisions by the project review group about SIL more than necessary. However, it is an option that we can consider in relation to each of them. So the first is to do with the Mill Road Community Garden. We have, following discussion at Facilities Committee, consulted about the plan, which is attached to the paper. The closing date for comments was yesterday. Lizzie has not as yet been able to do a full analysis, but I think it's reasonable to say that there's quite a lot of enthusiasm, but some dissenters. There's certainly one who said we shouldn't be wasting our money. There are others who are suggesting that the plan should cater for dogs and dog owners by fencing in what we plan as an open woodland area, which we can consider in due course at the Facilities Committee. But in the meantime, what I'm proposing we do is get on with the hard landscaping, which we'd very much like to do during the summer months. Jeanette and I had the opportunity to have a walkabout with our assistant clerk this morning, and I have some comments arising from that in relation to item C of the motion about the actual sum. However, before that, I should say that Sarah and our clerk and Andy, I think, have kindly worked on the draft license with East Hants District Council in the light of our view that we needed clarity, that it was the firm intent to transfer the land to the parish council at the end of the 2 years, subject only to us successfully having delivered the new community garden. Sarah has sent a revised draft to the district council. Unfortunately, with other pressures, it had sort of slipped down their priority list, but Sarah has reminded them, and they are now addressing it. The officer involved has delegated authority to sign. So my proposition would be that our clerk should sign from our side of things, with the chair and myself as chair of facilities needing to approve it before Sarah signs it. As regards the amount of money in item C on the motion, I think what I would say about the walkabout is, and Jeanette may have something to add, is that we still are faced with quite some uncertainty about how much one or two of the bigger items are going to cost. We seem to be coming in with rather different propositions from potential contractors, and we need to unpick why the sums are so different, and be sure that we're getting the quality that we need. For example, in the paths, we want the paths to last for decades rather than for a couple of years. I do think it is prudent to ask council to include what's proposed as 3,600 for a contingency fund. So I'm hoping that council will agree to the motion. Chair, do you want me to read the motion, or?
I think you should, Nick, solely because, as I say, people on YouTube obviously won't be able to see what we're talking about.
So shall I do that now, and then take any questions?
Please, yeah.
So the motion from me is that List Parish Council A, notes the plan for the Mill Road Community Garden, B, delegates authority to sign the licence with EHDC for the use of land to, I would say, to the clerk, following approval by the chair and chair of facilities, and C, allocates the sum of 5,000 from SIL funding or general reserves, 1,370 to make up a shortfall in funds, and 15% of project costs at 3,600 for a contingency fund. And my suggestion would be, although it is preempting PRG slightly, that this item should come from SIL.
Okay, thank you. Can I have someone to second the motion, please? Sheila? Okay, thank you. And does anybody have any questions for Nick before we go to a vote on that? No, I'm not seeing any hands. So in which case, Nick has proposed the motion, Sheila has seconded it. Can I have a show of hands of all those in favour, please? It's unanimous. Thanks very much. So we move on to item 19. Nick again.
So item 19 is to do with refurbishing the Millennium Mosaic, Newman Collard, something that which a number of our residents are very keen that we should do, and something that we've committed to do in our action plan. In the action plan, we committed to exploring options, but I'm really delighted to say that through the efforts of Miriam in reporting to our clerk, we have identified a tiler who is willing and able to do it. This was one of quite a large number of contractors that she tried. So I feel that we've been lucky to identify someone who feels and has demonstrated they'd be up to the task. We do intend to involve interested residents, and to the extent that it is acceptable in health and safety terms, in terms of liability, to involve volunteers in the actual work itself. That will be something that will be overseen by the tiler, and he is willing to do. So the motion, this will of course cost. It is quite an extensive amount of quite tricky tiling work to be done. Fortunately, we do have quite a store of the original tiles, but I think we do need to just make provision for needing to buy new tiles where we haven't got the right colours. So there is a small contingency in there, and that's why it says up to 5,000. So the motion is that Lisp Parish Council allocates SIL funding or general reserves for the sum of up to 5,000 to undertake the works required to restore the Millennium Mosaic, noting the need to adhere to any future maintenance programme as recommended by the tiler. And we do want to make sure there is a maintenance programme, because it is sad that the existing, the original mosaic has deteriorated so much. My proposal would be, bearing in mind that the state of our reserves has improved over the past year, that this should come from general reserves. That's not part of the motion, but that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Can I have someone to second the motion, please? Claire. And does anyone have any questions for Nick before we move to vote on it? Leanne?
I was just wondering whether it's something that you could get the school involved with, Nick, when the tiler is actually doing it. I don't know if for health and safety you could actually get some of the older children involved with the tiler, or whether they can just be involved in watching the tiler do it, just for their interest.
If I may say, I couldn't possibly answer the question, but I can take it as a steer to see whether that might be possible. I think the tiler is very willing to involve volunteers. I don't know, unless Sarah can tell me, that he's actually been faced with the prospect of involving some older children, but that sounds like a really good idea in principle.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Roger.
The motion is, I think quite rightly, that we spend the sum of up to £5,000, and I'm very supportive of this. But I'm just wondering, do we take it that it's the Facilities Committee who will monitor the actual expenditure and whatever amount is finally agreed to be spent?
That would be my proposal, unless we feel that it should be done otherwise. We will certainly be monitoring it.
I personally am quite happy with that. I just want to be clear who it is actually is responsible for looking at the actual expenditure rather than a sum up to 5,000.
I had assumed it would be facilities, subject to having council's approval for that maximum sum.
Thank you, Chairman. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Roger. So the motion's been proposed by Nick, been seconded by Claire. Can we show of hands, please, that we allocate this money for the mosaic? Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you. So we move on to item 20, which is Nick yet again. I think Nick's intent on spending all the council's money here. Nick, good to see you again.
Yes, indeed. I'm probably a very unreliable person to make financial decisions, but so I'm glad I don't get allowed to do that by myself. This is to do with the village hall roof. As colleagues will be aware, we are in the process of a programme of refurbishment and renewal in the village hall. The first major item we've commissioned is to do with the external decoration of the woodwork, which is due to start this month. But another urgent item was to look at the roof. And those colleagues on Facilities Committee will be aware that as a result of an initial look at the roof by a possible contractor, we were alerted to the fact that there might need to be a complete replacement of the roof. As a result of which, at our former parish council chair's suggestion, we commissioned a roofing surveyor to look at the roof. I'm delighted to say that he considers that there is considerable further mileage in the existing roof, at least 10 years and probably 20 years plus. So on that basis, the proposal is to go ahead with a refurbishment. Again, I'm proposing a sum of up to a figure, in this case up to 10,000. Our first two quotations have come in at very significantly different amounts. And when we've got the third quotation in, the clerk and I will need to go through the quotes and see what added value we might get from any of the higher suggestions. I don't want at this stage to commit to going for the lowest price, but on the basis of the surveyor's report and what the three potential contractors have to say to us, I would propose that we do a fairly thorough refurbishment rather than the minimum. So for that reason, I'm proposing that we somewhat more than cover current upper price. It's basically around a 20% allowance, and it's not because I expect a higher bid, a higher proposal necessarily. It's more that I expect that once the roofing work starts, we may discover things. This is an old roof, and one thing the surveyor did say is that we must assume that the felting under the tiles has deteriorated. So the secondary protection provided by the felting will not be sound. If we discover that there's an area which is really hopeless, we might want to conceivably replace that. Equally, we might discover some under the flat roof, some rotten wood. Who knows what we might discover? So I am proposing an upper limit again, which again I would propose the Facilities Committee should monitor, of up to 10,000. So should I read the motion now, Chair?
Yes, please, Nick.
So the motion is that Liss Parish Council allocate general reserves for the sum of up to £10,000 to undertake works required to the village hall roof in line with the recommendations contained in the independent survey undertaken and subject to the requirements as set out in the financial regulations.
Okay, thank you. So Nick's put the motion. To have someone to second it, please? Claire, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Nick before we move to vote on this? Leanne?
Were we supposed to have a copy of the independent survey?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
It's delegated. There was a working group which has been looking at it, consisting of the clerk and myself, but I can easily let you have a copy.
No, I didn't. I know if we
anybody else, no. I think I'm helping the clerk to reach a view as to which as to what we should do and who should do it.
Okay, thank you.
The report contained a set of recommendations which we have forwarded to the various contractors to quote against. So we have a specification within the report, which has been helpful.
Thank you. Any other questions for Nick? No. So Nick has proposed the motion that's been seconded by Claire. Shall we show of hands, please, that we allocate this money to repair the village hall roof? Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you very much. So we move then on to item 21, which is Nick yet again. Nick, over to you.
This is a proposal to spend the sum of £396 precisely for the purchase of a litter bin to be installed by the old railway platform on the Riverside Walk. And that is because it is an area which is gets rather littered due to the old railway platform being used by some individuals as a place to congregate. We don't think that this will entirely solve the problem of litter, but it would hopefully nudge those people to put some of their litter at least into the litter bin. And litter is an issue along the Riverside Walk, frankly, more so in the part of the Riverside Walk that is not the responsibility of the parish council. And I would just like to say in that context, a note of appreciation to the new LIS Environmental Guardians group for the very energetic litter picking that is going on outside where our own litter picker does that work. So this is an attempt to promote better litter discipline. I can't guarantee it will be successful, but I think that it is a desirable thing to do. So the motion is that Liss Parish Council allocates general reserves for the sum of £396 for the purchase of a litter bin for installation in front of the old railway platform on the Riverside Walk.
Okay, thank you. Can I have someone to second the motion, please? Sheila. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on this for Nick before we move to the vote? Howard. Oh, just a second, Howard. I need to unmute you. Right.
Okay. I think there's a choice. I see you positioning the litter bin actually on the ground, the low level, which might put people off using it if they're sitting under the shelter, actually on the platform itself. I don't know which is best. I think one of the questions I have is, does the litter picker actually cover that area at the moment on his litter picking?
I think Sarah will correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, the litter picker does cover our part of the Riverside Walk, the parish council's short stretch. As to whether it would be better up on the platform, it's something we did consider and was slightly concerned about the potential for bonfires.
Okay, yeah, that's,
we don't want an informal sort of brazier type. Let's warm ourselves up by setting fire to the litter bin.
I think that's a good point, and I hadn't considered that. So yeah, I agree with your decision in that case.
Can I just ask a related question, Nick, which is who's going to actually empty the litter bin? Is it going to be the litter picker, or who's going to empty it?
I'll have to defer to the clerk, I'm afraid, because it's whoever normally empties the litter bins.
Of course, yes, it will be the litter picker. He already empties the bin at the entrance to the picnic area, and he will also empty this bin, should it be agreed.
Okay. Leanne.
Yeah, could I ask a related question about litter bins? Who's responsible for the litter bin? I think it's outside of the Sue Ryder shop. Or Sue Ryder shop and the old dry cleaners. It's just that the bottom keeps falling out of it and the litter's ending up on the street. It's happened quite a few times.
Again, I'll have to defer to the clerk.
It's not us, and it has been reported, and they are intending to come and put a new switch on the bottom of the bin. It's not our responsibility, but we have reported it, so it will be fixed in due course. These things just take some time.
Yeah, I believe it is. Excuse me, I believe it is in the HCC bin, but I'm not 100% certain on that. And we've lost somebody, and I'm trying to work out who we've lost.
It was Russell.
Oh, it's Russell.
It was Russell just left.
That's fine. Okay, so can I have a show of hands then that we agreed to allocate this?
Chairman.
Roger.
I'm assuming that there is no provision within a budget for provision of litter bins or maintenance of the railway walk or riverside walk or anything of that sort. This is actually asking for money outside normal provision.
Can I come in?
Mm-hmm.
It was agreed due to the need to reduce costs of the budget and make the figures work. It was agreed that grounds furniture would have a zero budget area, and that any request for grounds furniture would be for would come from general reserves.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so subject to that, can I have a show of hands that we're all happy to allocate this money for this litter bin? Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you very much. Okay. I've just realised that we've lost Jeanette. That's okay. So we move on into item 22, which is matters of concern from councillors. Normally, if we were in the room, I'd go around the table, but to make it easier, since we're all sitting like this, if anyone has a matter of concern, can they raise their hand? Don.
Can I ask what's happened to community partnership meetings? I don't know if Sarah knows the answer to that. I've raised this before, that these seem to have gone astray as part of COVID. They were happening, of course, every 3 months, I think it was, before COVID. And I was sort of reserve member after Howard, I think, for Liss, and also I'm the member for Liphook if it goes ahead there. But do you know what the status of that is? Or does Sarah? Does anyone know?
I'm afraid I don't, but I haven't seen anything come in that needs to be forwarded.
And what happened, you'll remember, Keith, I think, that Jo Utting used to organise it, and she got a new job, a sort of more senior job, I think. She was intending to still come to the meetings.
Yes, and she
all since, but it kind of divided at the same time.
She did hand responsibility for them on, I think, to Ryan Gulliver from memory. Sarah, can you make a note, and we'll, between Sarah and myself, we'll chase that up, Don, because I honestly don't know the answer to you off the top of my head.
There are important meetings, particularly in dealing with antisocial behaviour.
Yeah, I fully agree. So I will find out, and we'll come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Nick.
Yes, it was just something that Jeanette, I think, might have raised if she was still with us, and which she mentioned to me this morning when we were doing our walkabout. It's just a concern that has been raised by some residents about behaviour in the Lower Mead area, just outside Tesco's, and the newly moved off licence, which seems to be going on till late in the night, till perhaps 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and is causing residents disturbance and distress. I don't want to go into further details in this meeting, but I think it is something we'll need to consider in relation to our thinking on the village centre. We've already noted in the group looking at that, and in highways that is an issue, but it seems to have got worse recently.
I think the worst thing about that, though, is people, we have this all the time, people will go on Facebook and moan about something, but if you don't report that to the police and things like that, it's all about building an intelligence picture. And if you don't have that intelligence, they won't do anything. And I hear it all the time, people saying, oh my God, there's a police officer, I thought they'd all gone, which is a load of rubbish. It's all intelligence led. It's just a different way of policing. But people, I see it all the time, and it's really frustrating, because if you speak to people from Hampshire Police, most of the issues, they don't know about them. And they'll say, oh, they've stolen a crate of beer from Tesco's. Okay, your first reaction was to report this on Facebook. Maybe you should think about how we report this. And I think some guidance would be good to be provided out to the community. You know, these are you need to report this, because it's never going to change if people don't know.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I support you on that. All I would add on a related note, in case anyone is watching who knows who it is, or if anyone who's watching maybe knows the parents of who it is, can I please extend a request to the young people of the village? And by young people, I'm going to be quite broad in that, as anybody probably under 30, because it's not been clearly identified who it is, who seems to think there is some joy at the moment in having a tour list by 4 fire extinguishers, which have appeared in various places throughout the village over the last week or so. So far as I'm aware, certainly no damage has been caused to them or by them. But please, can they be returned to wherever they were originally borrowed from? And please, can that activity cease? Because I think sooner or later it's going to end in tears, and I'd rather not see that. So please, can somebody just return them to from whence they came? Anyone else got anything? Howard? Just a second, Howard. I got unmuted. Did you? Yeah.
Okay. Right. I'd just like to support the comment there about reporting it to the police. I sit on the committee on behalf of the council, which meets with the police. It keeps changing its name, and I'm not sure what it is at the moment. But we do normally have a policeman come to the meetings. And whenever anybody in the village complains to me about something which is clearly outside the law, the first question I always ask them is, have you reported it to the police? And invariably, the answer is no. And the police are led by the information they have. So
Done.
I endorse that.
Done.
Yeah, but that is, Howard, that is the community partnership meeting that I was talking about just now. That is the group I was talking about. But it's also a very good point. The people don't, I think, remember that, or don't understand that police response often is directly on how many complaints they actually get. They actually have procedures to do it on that basis. So any 101 calls or emails really do help.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we had a situation in the village a few weeks ago where a group of youths arrived onto the railway station from the train. It is believed that they came from Hazelmere, but that is not for certain. But the best of the information I have is that they came from Hazelmere. The station CCTV is observed from the British Transport Police in Portsmouth when the station is unmanned, and the British Transport Police spotted these young people misbehaving on the station, so they dispatched a vehicle to this station, and the young people were dispersed from the station. Later that evening, the young people returned to the station. The British Transport Police revisited the station and put the people on the train and accompanied them back to Hazelmere, where the majority of them got off. And I think, first of all, thanks to British Transport Police for doing that, but it just goes to show that sometimes when we have these issues, and I think it's an important point, it's not necessarily young people from the village itself who are causing the problem. We do have an issue at the moment of importing young people from other places, and I suspect that will continue until they choose to move on to somewhere else. But just to be aware that when we talk about these incidents, it's not necessarily people from the village itself. Okay, so if there's nothing else, then we move on to now going into exempt session to select our new councillor, co-opt our new councillor. Russell's already left, so I don't have to ask him to leave. But can I have someone to propose that we move into exempt session, please? Claire, someone to second? Nick, thank you.
I actually wanted to say something.
Oh, okay, sorry, Claire.
Sorry. Should we stop recording?
Oh,
or
we should.
broadcasting?